one of the things with you that I've learned is that you do residential, you'll do commercial, you'll do like an office move, but you also do unusual moves like, oh, say, an airport hangar. Will you share that story?
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Hello, this is Jennifer J. Hammond, and I'm so excited. We have Trent Wilson and Chris Kaiser here today from Good Greek Storage and Moving. Welcome, you guys.
Glad to be here, Jennifer. My name is Trent Wilson, the Regional Sales Manager at Good Greek.
And Chris?
Hey, Jennifer. Hey, it's Chris Kaiser. I'm the Relocation Expert for Good Greek.
Perfect. Well, let's start with you, Trent. So how did you get into moving and why Good Greek?
Well, I pride myself on being a professional. I love relationships, and that's exactly what Good Greek excels at. I was in multifamily before this, and obviously there's quite a big overlay with that and moving. And when I was tapped on the shoulder to come over here by someone I met through multifamily, I jumped at the opportunity. I'm glad to be here.
Very good. Okay, Chris, what about you? How did you get to Good Greek Moving?
So I have a little bit of a little bit different background. I was in medical sales and management for 20, 30 years, started my own company, doing something in agriculture. So I was able to kind of switch from industry to industry and kind of bring a new atmosphere or feel to it. And I met Trent, and at first I thought, I don't want to do moving, but the more I learned about Good Greek and what they're doing, because they really are different, and it's an industry that doesn't have the best reputation sometimes, and so to work for a company that does have a good reputation, it kind of fit what my need was at the time and now.
And I'm going to ask you a little bit more about that reputation in a minute, but I wanted to start with an interesting story that you started to share with me before we got on. And that's, one of the things with you that I've learned is that you do residential, you'll do commercial, you'll do like an office move, but you also do unusual moves like, oh, say, an airport hangar. Will you share that story?
Sure. So at Tampa International, there is a facility that's moving from one hangar to 3 doors down. They're going to keep the existing one, but there's a lot. I mean, it's a big move. You got to get on the ramp. You got to have multiple trucks. We have over 100 26-foot trucks, and then we also have 26 semis. For this particular move, we'll use 26-foot trucks, but we have the personnel where we bring 12, 16, 20 teams in. And the nice thing about our teams are they're background checked, but most importantly, they're also full-time employees. So we don't use temps. We try and keep the teams together. So, they understand how each other works. It makes the move go smoother for both the customer and us, to be honest.
And so I want to go through, we have a really special, I want to go through some of the questions, and we have 17 questions to ask your moving company. And if you know me at all, I have 17 questions to ask your real estate agent, 17 questions to ask your real estate attorney, 17 questions to ask your home inspector. So now we have 17 questions to ask your moving company. But I wanted to start with Trent and see if Trent could give us a little bit of background on what makes Good Greek different. I mean, one, you do local moves, but you also can do a cross-country move. You can do residential and commercial. So a little bit about what makes Good Greek different, but also can you share a little bit about the story of Good Greek and how you came into existence?
I would be glad to. Spiro is our CEO. He was, he's a Greek immigrant. He came over here with his family with the American dream of creating a bigger, grander life. As he struggled in his youth, he found an opportunity working with the police team in Miami and then Miami SWAT. And obviously, as you guys know from videos and everything they do, they go through a very intrinsic training platform. And when he saw people being taken advantage in moving, his heart went out to them. So when he found himself in moving, his family's got a background in moving. He started our Superhero Academy, which ultimately is based on his formal training. I mean, they're screened, they're vetted. They go through a 2 to 4 week training class on how to pack and move. I mean, it's scary the things you hear nowadays about these movers who they'll literally be learning on your items. and they're not vetted or screened, and they're coming into your personal home where your family lives. I mean, I really applaud Spiro for what he's created here at the company. Him and John, our COO, have doing a stupendous job. And, it's just, it never ceases to amaze me how there's no job too big, too small. There's no opportunity that we turn away. I mean, we'll do anything for anyone. I mean, even outside the ordinary. Well, that's not in our scope. We have no scope.
That's very well said. And I love the fact that the story of coming here and being an immigrant, and but also working with SWAT in Miami and understanding that I think all of us at one point or another have, felt the sting of betrayal, the sting of trusting somebody and then being betrayed. And unfortunately, in the moving industry, a lot of people don't keep their word. And so it's great to see your reviews that I've seen, and that so many people just speak so highly of your company. So I want to start with our questions. We're not obviously going to get through all 17. If you're interested in 17, then you have to just go hit me up and we'll make sure that you can get a copy of these. But let's start first, Chris, let's talk about the quote. This is a big deal in moving, so with your company, one of the most, well, I should say, first of all, these are questions you should ask any moving company, but I'm going to ask you, and, as you represent Good Greek. So is the quote or estimate, is it guaranteed? And so often it's not, or there's little, I want to say, fine print.
Yeah, well, the fine print can sometimes be pages and pages. But so our quotes are guaranteed. That's what I do. I'm a relocation expert, and I go out to the business or the residents, and I do an inventory of what they're bringing with them to their next residence. We then convert that into a dimensional weight, kind of the way UPS or FedEx works. And then we figure out how many trucks, how many people, how long it's going to take, things like that. We also take into account, is it upstairs, downstairs? How long does it take to get to the truck? Because some of these high rises, it can be a 400 to 500 foot, walk. And that takes time, elevators going up and down, things like that. So at the end, we don't add on for anything. A lot of the biggest thing I hear is long distance cross country moves, and they add $75 for a step for each step. So if there's 10 steps, that's $750. And also, if we get stuck in traffic or there's a delay of some kind, they go over 8 hours, so they're into overtime. We don't charge time and a half, and we don't charge for traffic as long as they have a written guaranteed quote from us. Now, a lot of places, they give you a written estimate and it's not binding. So you got to check to make sure that it's binding. And all Good Greek quotes that are done by a professional like myself are binding.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge difference. And I really appreciate you highlighting that, because again, there's a big difference between an estimate and a guaranteed quote. Those are very, very different ones. And so, Trent, I'm going to ask you the next one. So this is a question you should ask every moving company. Do you broker any part of the move? And this is one thing that a lot of people probably don't understand, and they would have never thought to ask, because even in like loans, there are a lot of times where people broker it. There's so many other times where there's an in-between person and they're not taking full responsibility for whatever it is that you need, especially, like I said, when people are buying or selling property, they have all these different people. And the moving company is one of the ones that I think people are so often, they just, it's like a language they don't understand. So do you guys broker any part of the move, Trent?
No, we do not. I mean, here at Good Greek, we're all about transparency, like Chris said. Yeah, there's a time and place for binding and non-binding jobs. I mean, we do small jobs where, they're hourly, but for jobs like we send Chris, who's an expert at what he does, it's very important that you get that guaranteed price, or at least inquire about one if needed. I mean, when you're moving your entire family, a large home, I mean, you don't need any of these residual costs, and you don't need to be blindsided. And that's exactly what happens sometimes with the brokers of the world. No disrespect. I never like to throw shade in any one direction. But, typically what happens in these endeavors is, and we get these calls all the time, like, I hired this guy, the truck never showed up, or when they did come, they charged me twice as much. The reason for all that is because these brokers, who could be an individual sitting behind a desk with no crew, no staff, he bids a job, he gets his commission off the initial deposit, and then he tries to sell that job to an outside party. And very often that outside party doesn't know what they're getting involved with, not to mention they don't work for that individual. So they may not even show up. And then if they do, they assess the job and maybe they get started, maybe they don't. And they request more money from the individual. We've heard horror stories. They call them hijacked, where people will take their stuff and then before they unload, they demand a higher cost than was initially agreed upon. And that's the whole point of this conversation is we want to protect our clients or possible clients from these endeavors before they get into bed with these individuals. Always ask, can you provide a guarantee price? Can you send an estimator if needed? I mean, yeah, again, there's a time and place. But when you're up against the wall and you want an expert to come out, that's where we and people like Chris, our outside sales relocation consultants, can really step in and help. Because again, I would hate for people to learn that learning curve the hard way.
And as you just said, so often people don't move that many times in their lifetime. So they're not used to not only the lingo, what to ask, what not to ask, what to expect, what not to expect. And again, it can be horrifying to have all your stuff stuck on a truck. And then all of a sudden realize, oh, but then we have this other fee and then we have this other fee because they brokered the deal. I mean, it can be really just heartbreaking in so many ways. So, Chris, I wanted to ask you, I know that a good Greek, this was surprising when I found this one out, but how many trucks do you guys have?
So we have over 100. I think the current quote, the current stat I heard was like 140 26-foot trucks and then 26 semis, like the one behind me. So we do a lot. And, we also sponsor a lot of things, the Lightning, the Bucks. I think we're going to get a soccer team. We had FIU and University of Miami for the NCAA. We do the Gators. So, all that also takes a lot of logistics and planning. So we're very proud of those. But they'll either be yellow or some type of sports team. Yeah, I think that's blue one out there too. Yeah.
So their trucks are very unique. So they'll say good Greek, but then they're going to have all of the amazing teams and places that you sponsor on them. Which for anyone who's watching the video, if you're listening to us in audio and you're not watching, you need to go watch the video so you can see the images. So I want to ask you, Trent, I know we're about to run out of time, but I wanted to make sure one thing that's really important when people are thinking about moving is asking this question of what services do you offer? Because a lot of times people assume different aspects of it. So will you talk through a little bit of the services that you offer?
Oh, I'd be glad to. I'm very proud of our services. As Spiro would say, if you've seen our commercials, we're the world's first total relocation company. We swear by that because no one at our level offers our breadth of portfolio. I mean, outside your typical moving, storage, packing, unpacking, junk removal, and auto transport, we now help with concierge services, with utilities, home security, as well as real estate lending and insurance. All these industries overlap. So it's very important that when you find an organization like ourselves, that you jump at these opportunities, inquire. And we as experts should be offering our whole portfolio because obviously this is one of the most stressful endeavors that you'll ever go through. Like you said, a lot of people don't move in life. Number one, because it's stressful, but number two, it's a big endeavor. So if you can come to a company like us where we can alleviate some of these pain points, I jump at the opportunity. I love to help people, and that's why I'm here. And very often I move people, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't even do my utilities," or like, I don't know the area. Well, we have a home security package we can offer. Or, I move them into a rental. Maybe it's a younger couple and they're like, well, we're saving to purchase a home. Well, guess what? We can help with lending now. And then when you're ready, we have realty referrals as well as partners that we can help find your new future home. It's a very exciting time. And I hope Chris finds it as rewarding as I do. The smiles and reviews, as you mentioned, that we get from what we do here, it makes it worthwhile. It really does.
Absolutely. And Chris, I was going to ask you if you would share the website, social media, anything, phone number, anything that people can contact you if they're interested in finding out more.
Sure. Well, they can always call me directly at my cell phone. It's 813-444-4561. They can also go to goodgreek.com. And we're on Facebook. We're on all the media platforms. So, but
don't forget, Chris, for our podcast, we have a 1-800 number explicitly for this, so we can track and effectively call you guys. 866-950-4155.
Say it again. One more time, Trent.
866 950-4155.
Perfect. Yay! Okay, so you know that as we go off the air, I'm going to ask you to lift your voices. I'm always looking for the silver lining in everything in life. I know, and Chris knows, whether it's 7 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night, I'm looking for the yays. So I'm going to ask you both if you'll lift your voice and say yay with me as we go off the air.
I'm excited.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Good. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Yay! Thank you, Jennifer, for having us. Very excited.
It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jack Canfield. You may know me as